I was getting ready to start my show, and then I started texting my dad because, that's what you do. It's me today on the Backpack Show. I'm so happy you're all here. We're going to get into it. I've got some news to cover for you today. Just news, not special announcement news. Backpack Show. Backpack Show. Leave it to me to start it late when Carrie's not around. I'm terrible. I would like to say hello to that beautiful lady right there, Diane Brogan, and her handsome husband, Steve Brogan. Hi, Chloe. Good to see you. Welcome to the Backpack Show today. It's just me. Carrie O'Shea Gorgon is just getting back from a trip. She was abroad for work, and she's abroad now. And no, she's doing, I don't know, something. Appointment, something, whatever. So it's my show to ruin all on my own. So I will make all the mistakes. I will try to remember the things I need to remember. Like, boop, you can run a show like this yourself, just solo. Run it on StreamYard. It's so easy. cbrogan.net/StreamYard. You can make a show. Hey, want a .online domain? Who wouldn't? You can get one for 99 cents, not even $1. Go to cbrogan.net/online. Use the code Chris. Okay, in all caps, and you can get one for yourself, 99 cents. Hey, Leslie. Hey, Joanne. Good to see everybody here. Welcome to the Backpack Show. It's news and also your comments and thoughts and insights. I just decided to go scouring the land of the news. I wanted to see what was out there, talk about some things that were on my mind. No particular order. And boy, sometimes people say that and there's a particular order. There is no method to my madness. I just put things out there. One, we are almost at the end of Pride Month. We were supposed to have a guest specific to this, an activist, an LGBTQ activist, David Yuval, I think, or Yuval David, not available because of a slight internal scheduling mix-up, but we'll have that person in July. So some stuff there. But one interesting note out of the Pride Month that I found interesting, this is one of those months that's kind of weird and performative. One detail I saw and picked up was that there is evidently there's the activist group GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian Allies, Advocates, and Defenders, or something like that, GLAAD. And they got a whole bunch of brands to sign sort of a treaty saying how they would and wouldn't treat LGBTQ people in their advertising methods and all that. I found that interesting. Boston Beer Company was one of the people who do that. That's the people who make Sam Adams, run by Jim Cook. That is, of course, in opposition to Anheuser InBev's now famous ball dropping on the Bud Light situation, where they had a trans person, Dylan Mulvaney, be the representation of Bud Light during March Madness. And then the backlash that was experienced by the people who don't want to be represented by a trans person, and then the CEO reversing it all and saying, "What? I don't know what happened. This is crazy." Like it couldn't have gone worse in all the different twists and turns that particular one took. And I have to tell you, I didn't support the campaign itself because I thought Dylan Mulvaney knows nothing about basketball. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, look, we know a trans person. And it was like just like the worst use. And that's what I'm protesting, not that they were, they've done a lot to show how anti-LGBTQ they were after the fact. So anyway, kind of fun. The Boston Beer Works, Pfizer, and a bunch more brands signed on to say, we won't do that. And I like that. I think that's really cool. I was thinking about box office bombs. I was thinking about the fact that the 2023 movie season is, almost halfway through, and it is crazy how many movies have failed. And a lot of them are in the genre that I used to, be the most advocating for: superhero stuff, sci-fi stuff, nerd stuff. It is amazing how many movies are just flopping all over the place. Most recently, this past weekend, DC's The Flash. DC's The Flash, on the third day of the run, did so poorly that it lost to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, who's on its third week. Spider-Man put in $3.8 million at home. On DC The Flash's third day, it made $3.08 million. And so that gives you a sense of that. But it's incredible when you start looking at the numbers. Flash made 55 domestically on its opening weekend and 130 globally, versus Spider-Verse making 120 domestically in its first, and now they're already over 500 million, which is better than the first movie did. I have another point on that. The number one box office movie right now for 2023, as far as revenue brought in, is the Super Mario Brothers game movie with $1.339 billion. Super Mario Brothers. So it's all nerds and geeky stuff in the movie theater right now. In a way that makes sense, because the kind of like dramatic, other topic, subject matter, they don't tend to cost a lot of money to make. They don't tend to make a lot of money, and they tend to do reasonably well comparatively, but not really, compared to some of that stuff. One other little detail about Into the Spider-Verse is that this features a Latino / Black character. This features a lot of different cultures and whatnot, and this movie did way better than people thought. We keep getting Black Panther made $1 billion in its release, the first one. We keep getting told a lot that nobody wants to go see different races, ethnicities, and genders in movies, but it turns out maybe that's not so true. It just means that maybe we have to make some pretty good things. So my dad, the king of really good dad jokes, says maybe it's just a flash in the pan. By the way, I have to tell you, because I just realized I trashed it like everyone else is trashing it. I saw The Flash. I liked it. Like, I get all the complaints. I accept all the complaints. But I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I think Ezra Miller is a strange character. I don't know what I hope they have a way towards a better life at some point. But I think as the movie went, there were a lot of complaints about the special effects. They're all very sound and reasonable complaints. A lot of the movie looks like stuff you and I could have made on our laptop. But the storyline, the kind of cleverness of it, some of it was good. Lots of movies have to stop with this multiverse thing, but that's for another time. Leslie said, I heard Spider-Man was great. Yes, it was. If you didn't see Into the Spider-Verse, just watch that at home first, because you will be quite lost. It is an amazing film, though. It actually changed the way that animation has gone. Leslie goes on to say she's holding out hope for Indiana Jones. It depends just how deeply an Indiana Jones fan you are. I have seen my two favorite movie reviewers on YouTube have said that one who is an indie fan more than any other fandom said it was okay. It was almost better than Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Let that sink in for a second. The other one said no. The other one said no. They tried, but it is just so obviously computer generated effects laden. So Joanne says, sad, I'm a DC fan, but they really have lost to Marvel. I think people are tired of the genre. Oh my gosh, it is amazing to think that there are this many superhero movies. I didn't mention Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There's so many. And there's a new trailer out this week also for another Sony product, Kraven the Hunter, which means they'll have had a chance to try to ruin 3 anti-heroes: Venom, then Morbius, and then Kraven the Hunter. They're just going to work their way down the line. My dad points out he's waiting for a sequel to Popeye and Olive. It would have to be AI-generated Robin Williams, maybe. But, that movie. So for whatever reason, that. But there, there's a little connection to this, to my next story, which is that creative people, you're not going to believe this, but creative people are complaining about AI's takeover. The brand new Marvel TV show showing up on Disney Plus, the Marvel Secret Invasion, starring Sam Jackson, Kobe Smulders, and that really handsome guy from Bridgerton, whose name I don't know. Evidently, the opening credits are computer generated by way of AI. So you can look at the intro to Secret Invasion and say, wow, that's what a title scene would look like if robots made it. And if you watch it, you kind of look and go, yeah, I could see that. By the way, I am so getting to the Secret Invasion, the comic series, was this incredible storyline where you were just full of intrigue and all kinds of interesting premises, and sort of a rewriting of the entire Marvel canon when you start realizing maybe that wasn't really this person doing that thing. And it was just a neat way to kind of retcon some of their strange choices. But the TV series is more like, there's aliens and they can change shape, so you don't know if someone's an alien or not. So you get like multiple experiences of, I thought that was the regular person. Oh no, it's the alien. it's not that interesting, and it gets really tiring really fast because there's no way for you, the reader, to appreciate it, or the viewer. Sorry. So oddly enough, people like Spike Lee are out there saying, gee, I don't think AI is going to go that far for people. Well, of course, all creatives are going to say things like that. My creative author friends are all like, there's no way AI could write better than me. It doesn't have to. Number one, people are already selling tons of AI generated books now on the Amazon store, so your stuff's going to get lost in the clouds. Number two, you don't use AI that way if you're smart. If you're smart, you use AI for the little jobs and then still kind of allow yourself the opportunity to learn from it and whatnot. Dad, I really hope that's a typo, and I hope it's Stripey, because Strippy is a really weird name for I'm assuming a sidekick. Interesting, sad, weird news today. It's been reported that they found enough debris to concur that the sub that was on the way to look at the Titanic, the Titan sub, has probably imploded, and everybody aboard is presumed dead. They haven't found all the information out and all that. What's interesting to me is I'm a fairly avid Reddit user, and it is amazing how many jokes and memes and negative comments are going on about this experience. And so there's been a lot of sort of meta criticism and commentary about that. It's the comment that's sort of interesting. The commentary around the people dead in the sub is that it's a bunch of billionaires who wasted money thinking they could thwart physics. And so on the one sense, there's that sort of feeling of that's what you get. And the word hubris keeps getting turned around. Very reasonable opinion. The other is just that people are saying that, why should they feel any kind of remorse whatsoever for billionaires? That's interesting. It's a very interesting cultural moment to judge and decide by people's financial standards, that we should or shouldn't give them our opinion. Now, I'm not voting in on this. I'm just stating some of the thoughts that are coming around it. But I do find it interesting. What a strange place in time we are, where people can feel those sorts of feelings. And I would I understand why people would feel that way? Absolutely. If you're having trouble making rent and someone paid $250,000 to go with a guy using a PlayStation controller to get to the bottom of the ocean. There's another weird side note. It's not really a PlayStation brand controller. It's Logitech. You could tell the Logitech's just sitting there rubbing their heads going, it wasn't our controller that made this problem. But their name is getting thrown out there so much because it's just sort of a feeling of like, what the heck? Hey, I wanted to bring up a website that you maybe have not gone to see. Some of my friends have. My friend Dave Gray launched a site called visualframeworks.com. I will put it up on the screen in 1 second. Share the screen, Visual Frameworks, share the tab. Okay, so it's a really basic looking site, visualframeworks.com. Now, what's kind of interesting is these are the graphics and whatnot that you can look at that kind of, basically you pick these to tell different kinds of stories. I'll show you, I'll go get the cards. You use these for explaining concepts at work or working through how to have people understand different ideas or concepts. And so I'll take this off the screen again for a second, but visualframeworks.com, take a look. It's interesting to me because so you can take these cards, and for instance, if you're talking about things like a sales funnel, you could show a graphic that explains a sales funnel. So you could start the conversation about why is this maybe not the way our buyers buy? Maybe people don't buy in a straight line like that, or maybe they do. So you can walk your way through interesting concepts. You could talk about, there's a concept called the doom loop, and it's sort of how your brain kind of goes from one bad thing to another bad thing to another bad thing. And these are interesting because you could see how you could put these together and think through how you're going to work through a given problem. I did a coaching experience really fast with Dave Gray, the guy who made these. And what he said was fascinating because he said, here's how you could use them. And so he says, so mention a problem at work. And so I mentioned a problem at work. So he starts explaining it with the cards. He says, see which of any of these cards would be useful in telling the story. So we went to visualframeworks.com and we're pulling them all out. It was really neat to see, because you get to a point where you go, oh, I see how this could be a good way to do this, or a good way to do visual sharing and whatnot. So it's definitely worth checking out. That's why I brought it up. I've talked to you about it 3 or 4 times for that reason. So back to some comments on the Titan. My dad points out that this 19-year-old kid didn't want to go, but he went because it was Father's Day. Very sad. Yeah, that's a tough one. You want to make your dad happy. The dad's, 100% gung-ho on this sort of thing. I mean, I would do that if my dad said, hey, let's go, it's going to be great. We had like $500,000. We're like, let's go. It'd be tough. Leslie says the jokes and memes are in such poor taste. So sad for the families. There are still human beings. They are. But that's my point. My point is that it's interesting that we are in this point in our world where we can feel fairly callous against the wealthy. Like there's a class struggle brewing that has not been a thing in America in this level, in this intensity for some time, if or not at all. So I find that interesting. In related but not at all related news, France just is the first country to put on the books a law that says if you run a grocery store and you have food that you need to throw away for one reason or another, like it's past the date, or you have items that have kind of gone past their expiration, you are now obligated to make it available to secondary places like homes or shelters or whatnot. So this is the first country that has said food waste is not going to happen on our watch. We're going to make it so that somebody somewhere can make something out of this. So if the lettuce is just a little wilty on the ends, then people will cut the ends off and still make it usable at places that, are dealing with food shortages and whatnot. It's a real big issue. We're going back to the Titan again. This is important though. Joanne brings up the point that a lot of people are also making. They sent all kinds of money and equipment to try to find those 5 people, whereas there was a boat in the Mediterranean with over 750 or so people, 82 for sure confirmed dead at this point, because they were migrants. They were, if there were people trying to immigrate somewhere, and so that shows you in one exact experience. Hey, Andrew, good to see you. I feel bad for them, but I wonder if their ego got in the way. I mean, there's a lot of video footage from some of the people that are on that boat talking about it. They're saying, you have to take risks. Or one guy was saying, I think they said, who was it? FDR. FDR might have been the one who said something like, you're not known for the rules that you follow. You're known for the rules that you break. And the guy was saying, I'm a rule breaker. My dad says, Leslie, I do not recognize the USA that I was born into over 7 decades ago. Yeah, no, I feel that same way. It's a strange time to be in this country. Related to that, there was a big survey done in Fast Company magazine, or reported in Fast Company magazine. I'm trying to think who's the person who did the survey. I feel like it was Deloitte. Yeah. So I'll show you this up on the screen real quick. This kind of connects to the point we were making, it that this is a different kind of world right now. There it is. So leaders, here's why your LGBTQ plus employees might be looking for a more inclusive place to work. It says here that only 1/3 of LGBTQ plus employees are even comfortable being out to their direct managers, according to a big new survey done from Deloitte. So Deloitte surveyed 5,474 LGBTQ plus people from 13 different countries and asked them about their workplace realities. Overall, it said that while their employees have made some improvements, it's still not enough. Here are some key findings. Employer commitment to LGBTQ plus inclusion is lukewarm. Only 35% of respondents said their employers demonstrated inclusion inside and outside the organization, while 43% said that their organization did neither. More damningly, 35% of LGBTQ plus employees are actively looking to find a more inclusive employer. LGBTQ plus employees want to be out but don't feel comfortable doing so. 60% of respondents said it's important to be able to freely express their sexual orientation, and 75% said the same for gender identity. But only 51% of leaders are comfortable being out, and that drops to 37% for junior employees. Non-inclusive behavior is pervasive. 42% of respondents said that they experienced some non-inclusive behaviors, and this jumped to 55% for trans respondents. Only 25% of employees said these behaviors happened while working remotely, compared to 61% who said this happened in person, which makes all the sense in the world. It's kind of hard to feel not included in your own living room. I didn't share the screen that whole time. What a dope. Anyway, I was reading from something with you, I thought. So there we go. Leslie says food waste is terrible. I'm so glad for France. It can't be used and really should be composted. Steve, I agree. Even just the last couple of decades. Yeah, it's been a quite an interesting time. Sure didn't mean to make this the downer language. Hey, Nike has made an interesting partnership. They set up their own little island on Fortnite. Now that Fortnite is using the Unreal Engine. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, good. Now that Nike is using the Unreal Engine, they were able to create a whole Fortnite area, a whole island of their own called Airforia, where guess what? Your characters can buy little digital shoes. Before you scoff at this, there are billions of dollars in digital items sold. People who maybe can't afford $300 digital shoes can afford $8 to $10, $300 real shoes. Maybe you can afford $8 to $10 digital shoes. And also, it's a lot harder to try to steal those off of you in a digital world. So kind of interesting that it's Fortnite. Interesting that it's another one of the ways that, because Fortnite has opened their usage to Unreal Engine, they're making it such that people can build their own versions of the game themselves. It's a collaborative, cooperative kind of experience where you don't have to play the game that the company has made. You can use their platform to make your own versions of games. And I think that you're going to see a lot of that in collaboration for gaming. It's interesting that we've yet to figure out a way to do that in movies. Boy, we keep talking about the way we want it, but it's not going there yet. What else do I have? Oh, this is back to the weird class stuff. I was learning a lot about India today by a weird comparison. So Prime Minister Modi, or President Modi, I forget, is visiting the White House, and evidently the CEOs of Google, Apple, and Microsoft have all gone there to visit as well. They're all talking about it. Meanwhile, billionaire investor Ray Dalio is saying that India is the next place to start making some bets. It looks like India is about to bump into one of those China-sized growth spurts, and that there's a lot to think about with regards to that. India has been a pretty large entity for a long time, but what they're saying is that wealth is going to go shooting up, and productivity and money is going to go up. And really, as there continues to be sort of hedging against China in a lot of other ways, developing a relationship with another large country like India is probably likely on the horizon. Notably absent from the meeting at the White House, like I said, Google, Apple, and Microsoft were there. You lose Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, who are in the middle of challenging each other, no lie, challenging each other to a cage match. So it looks like they're offering to beat each other up for our entertainment. Who knew? This is our world. Wow, I did not mean to make it such a not fun day at the old backpack show. It surely wasn't a laugh a minute. Maybe that's what I need when I have Carrie around. Maybe she helps keep it lighter. Who knows? But that's the topics I had. Anything anyone wants to ask or put on the table for discussion before we head on out of here? If not, I'm going to start wrapping the show up, because I do that sort of a thing. Doesn't always have to be a half an hour. Doesn't have to be longer than a half an hour. This is a show where we can mix things up the way we want to. And I'm here for you. So ask away any questions you want. Always so glad to have everybody here. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I can't believe that this thing started at the beginning of the pandemic, just as a way for me to stay in front of people, because I was worried. I was going to be isolated and a hermit. And boy, was I, but I had you. And so thank you for coming to this show for so many years. Joanne, thank you. Thanks for coming by and giving me some of your time and attention. It's always fun to be part of your day and show up. Now that we do it just on Fridays, it's great. I'm always grateful, because you could be sneaking off to enjoy your early weekend or something like that. You could be working on very important business. Who knows? Oh, good that you were remembering that. Chloe said, you mentioned coaching in your description. What were your thoughts on that? I've been running into some sort of a theme lately with my coaching, which was that the people that I'm interacting with are all kind of running into the same thing of late, which is that they're doing more, but they're not doing better. Like they are running in a lot of directions. They're chasing a lot of things. They're just overall frenzied, but not for any particular really good reason. And so one piece of coaching advice I have for you today is a thing I've said a bunch of times in the past. What can you quit? What can you stop doing? What can you give up and say, that's it. I don't need this anymore. I'm all good with it. I've just been doing it because I feel like I should, or I've started it so long ago. I'm here to give you permission. You have my permission to stop doing those things if you want. There you go. That's one. Hey, my dad says I think the cage match would be won by Nicholas. That's very clever. And yes. So, and thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it. We have other real live guests coming up the rest of the shows. Like I said, we have our activist person that I missed in the middle of Pride Month, but that's okay. I don't want Pride to have 1 month. I want Pride to have the rest of time. So Joanne's been working on shedding things that don't work. That's great. I'm excited to hear that because I think it's amazing how many times we think more is the answer, and more is so rarely the answer. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of trying to eat a particular food that you love to the point that you can't possibly eat any more of it, but it never really works out. I think that there's a lot of times in life where we think if we just do more output, we'll get something better. I saw another piece of investor news actually tied to AI, which was that there's this oil investing firm. And one of the things that they did is that they started looking at how fast they were doing trades, and they realized that they were doing a lot of frenzied trade activity, which of course eats just a little bit of money every time because you have to, input the transaction or whatever. There's money to buy and spend and sell money. But they also realized that they were getting much better at sort of figuring out timing more than volume. And so they were slowing down and just watching timing a lot more than they were watching volume of their trading functions. It just points to that same idea. You don't have to go fast. The Navy SEALs have a thing that I've stolen for years, which is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So that if you learn how to get smooth, then you're going to actually thrive at it. Andrew has a question that I'm sure everyone wants to know. How do you balance all the things you do? Chief of staff, show, newsletter, movies? All right. I write as just a course of habit. I write every single day. I write thousands and thousands of words, some of which you see, some of which go into books, some of which will die on my Google Drive somewhere. So the writing is easy to do because there's a lot of things I don't do. I don't go get coffee with people every day. I don't take regular standing meetings as frequently as I can help it. I don't go to those kinds of meetings. I have an executive leadership team meeting I can't miss. Everything else is more or less a variable meeting. I keep my calendar as clean as I can. I schedule it to no more than 40% any given day. Now, when I say that, I schedule it to no more than 40% every given day. Some days I work 10 plus hours of interviews and meetings. Chief of staff is a role where you're basically doing a lot of executive coaching and leadership. So a lot of times I'll be pulled into things. Hey, do you have a minute? I have to run something by you. Or, hey, I have this issue and I don't know who else to talk to inside our organization. Or, I'll come poking at people and say, hey, I just want to get your take on something because from where I'm sitting, it doesn't look like it's going the way I imagine you want it to go. And I'll have conversations like that. And so a lot of my chief of staff duties are very ad hoc. They're very much in the moment. It's I'm thinking about, it's too soon to say I would develop this as a book. I was getting ready to write a book about chief of staff. I may or may not. But if I do, what I'm really going to talk about is something you could use at any kind of organization. And Andy, think about some of the places where you've worked, especially, the old businesses. There's something that I call out of band leadership. And it's chief of staff. I report only to the CEO. Everybody else is not above me, not below me. I'm outside of that universe. So I can go to someone who has a C level and say, we need to work on this. And I have that authority. Now, what's exciting about that is that then they can't sort of, they can bluster all they want, but it doesn't impact me. There's no professional impact if I say to someone, I think you really have to work on this part of what you're doing. Think about in any organization where leadership is so busy trying to do the thing that they're not trying to focus on their leadership. So I'm sort of like a floating leadership coach. I can go in and really fine tune different parts of people's organization. What's exciting about that to me is that means I'm always working on the strategy mindset with all of the humans, no matter what level they are in the organization. And it also means that I get a great opportunity to sort of tweak and poke at the parts of leadership that aren't working. I saw this presentation a couple of days ago and I said, hey, this looks like work. Like it looks like, wow, we're doing things. But you know what I don't see? Where's my money? Like where do I make money on this? And I said, all of this stuff looks great, but if you can't produce something that says, if we do X, then a bag of money comes, then it doesn't matter. It's like having the most instruments in the world on like a Toyota Tercel. It's just not going to be that useful. And so I think out of band leadership is something that a lot of companies should really think about a little more, at least a little, because it gives you an opportunity to test and tune things. All right, well, I did go to 30 minutes, so that's it. I'm quitting. I think you're the best. What am I going to put in my backpack today? I'm going to put this. It is a racquetball ball. Not racquetball, it's the other one. It's a really hard ball, like a field hockey or something. Lacrosse ball, I think it is. I use these for personal massage. You go up against the wall, you put this in the knot in your back, that one in your shoulder blade, and you just sort of grind into that knot for a while. It works amazingly well. And that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
Nepotism is alive and well. My dad made me laugh a whole lot, so he's our person of the day. So he gets that. We share one thing in common, and that is my dad, his mom is my grandmother. So all those grandmother stories I always tell are about his mom. So I could always say my dad's mom in the story, and then I could let go some of the other good ones that she said. Like there was a saying she was known for.